Hello, and welcome to the first game I will be analyzing with the new Conquest Simulator I have released. You can click somewhere on the screen to find my previous video about that. This game I played a few days ago was versus Rage. Rage is white in this game, and he is on the bottom, and I am black on the top. Now, in this game, I have opted to use Vigilance in my set. So if I just go to the next move, you'll see that I have Vigilance instead of Stoicism. Now, Vigilance is a very tricky command to use. Unlike Stoicism, it will not negate any damage for me. It will only allow my unit to attack first. And by comparison, most of the other commands are a lot better than Vigilance. So, for example, let's say I have my champ over at the enemy base, and I try to use Vigilance to defend my champion. Okay, because maybe he's at 200 HP or even 400 HP really, and I need a command to defend him, so I use Vigilance. Well, if my opponent uses Stoicism and then attacks my champion, that negates all the damage that was caused from Vigilance. This can also be applied with Battle Cry, although a champion will do some more damage through Battle Cry. And it can also be applied with Shield Wall, although you are going to take the 100 damage from Shield Wall. So, I believe that Vigilance has the best use if your opponent doesn't have any commands to use at all. So, ideally, we could use Vigilance and make our opponent use a command, and then our Vigilance only has a cooldown of 3, so if you use something like Stoicism, that has a cooldown of 5, so we can use Vigilance again before he has time to use Stoicism to counter it a second time. So, with this theme, I thought of some spammability. So, Vigilance has a cooldown of 3, and Chastise has a cooldown of 3 as well. Chastise is also just a very nice defensive command. But with this set, I can actually potentially pull off a combination or a chain of commands. What I can do is use Vigilance, then Chastise, or I could perhaps reverse the order. Chastise and then Vigilance, and then Battle Cry, back to Vigilance again, and then Chastise again. So that's a total of 5 turns in a row that I could be using commands. Now, my opponent, who has just your standard anti-rush, could use Chastise, Stoicism, Battle Cry, and then Chastise again. So that's only 4 commands. However, you have to remember that Vigilance pales in comparison to most of the other commands. So I can use either Vigilance or Chastise 2 out of every 3 turns. And if I actually spam that, it gets quite expensive, even though Vigilance only costs 50 command points. So I have to think of some good ways to utilize this in the game. Even the opening becomes a bit tricky. So if we play through a few moves here. So I just started with the Scout up 4. So Rage played Scout up 4, I played Scout up 4. And he's going to play his Scout up 4. He's just going to get 3 of his Scouts up 4. Standard anti-rush openings. So I have to think here. I can't exactly play the 4-3 opening, because if I play the 4-3 and then he puts his scout up 4 again, I don't have the option to scout takes scout and stoicism. My option would be scout takes scout and vigilance. However, this doesn't work because of this halberd over here. This halberd protects all of these scouts, and if the scouts were up 5, the halberd would also protect them as well. But the point being that even the opening has to be different. So what I did instead, I played my scout up 4 again. Or, sorry, a different scout up 4. So this, I'm just hoping to trade off scouts and stay even. Because as you can see here, I have this extra foot soldier instead of the scout that white has. So I do have a small material advantage, and I hope to keep that. Although a foot soldier can actually harm me in the end game. If I have a champ and a foot soldier versus something like a champ and a scout, the scout can easily be sacrificed, and then I can't use chastise on the enemy champion, but he can use chastise on me, and the foot soldier is too slow to be sacrificed. So he'll end up getting my champion. So I have to trade both of the foot soldiers at least fairly quickly. Or I would have to have such a great material advantage that the foot soldiers wouldn't really matter. So that would be, let's say, if I trade off both champions for both of his champions, that could work. So continuing the game, he moves his scout up 3. I'm guessing he's going to try the scout takes scout and stoic tactic here. So my only option really is to play scout up and takes. And interestingly enough, he takes with the foot soldier, but that's to be expected. I guess he didn't want to really break his wall open over here. So I sort of need a plan here. He's not going to charge and battlecry me just yet, but he's still planning scout takes scout and stoic, and then I can chast and I guess move back, or I could move up and battlecry to recapture. But he's going to move this other scout up, and then he's going to have 2 scouts, and they're going to get my halberd or damage my champion. They're going to do something bad to me. So one option I have is, I guess, moving the scout back just 1 space. So on my next turn, I can play charge and battlecry on one of his pieces, because you can see I have 125 now, so next turn I'll have just enough. If I did opt for that, I would probably have to take a halberd, so I wouldn't be very low on commands, because I run the risk of getting rushed if I attack a champion. And his commands are much better than mine. I won't be able to defend myself very well with Vigilance. So what I opted for was perhaps a more aggressive route. I played Scout takes Foot Soldier with the Battle Cry, and then I used Chastise on the enemy champion. I did not want the enemy champion to move up if I had used Vigilance instead to avoid being captured. because I want my chastise to be cooled down just as fast as it can for when if he starts pushing his champ up to try to rush me, because I don't have battle cry. But we'll see here, he moves his scout over to the left side of the board. I think he misplaced it just a little bit right here. I'll show you in a second. And he cast chastise on my scout. So now he's threatening to move right here and battle cry my champion, or potentially one of the foot soldiers. And I said this was a slight misplay because I believe he should have moved it one space to the right, so that he's at least threatening this other halberd. I would have to choose which one I want to save. Although a 200 HP champion with Vigilance might not be as bad as a 200 HP champion with Stoicism. Because a 200 HP champion with Stoicism can die to battle cry. But if you have Vigilance, then you can at least take a bit of damage out of a champion who tries to attack you. This is sort of assuming that they don't use Stoicism to get through the Vigilance. But a 200 HP Vigilance champion still has some use. So my only real move here is to move my champion back to save it. Okay, and now he's going to capture my scout that was right here with his scout. So now he's gaining a lot of territory with his scouts, although it looks like we are... No, we are not even. I am up a foot soldier. So it's actually 2 foot soldiers versus 2 scouts. But I am down on this battle cry command, and I'm in the corner, and I have to play defensively. So I opt to push my foot soldier up just a little bit in range of this champion, so this champion's still protecting him in case he wants to do something silly like battle cry the foot soldier. But instead he opts to charge and battle cry my back halberd, and he also uses stoicism to protect his scout. So here might have been a good time to play my champion up and try to rush him. Although I feel like I would only trade champions and I wouldn't get anything very useful out of it. Because again, I only have chastise and vigilance to try and rush him with. I have to use battle cry to take one of the champions, and then the other one would, I guess, have to be damaged by vigilance, but he would end up using stoicism to get through that. So I don't think that would work out very well. And then after I've rushed him, I've used charge, and then he's gonna try and rush me because I don't have charge. That might not work out very well. So instead, I actually ignore this scout. I don't even play chastise. Did I have chastise? Yeah, I didn't even play chastise on the scout. I just moved the foot soldier up just out of charge range of his champion, because I did not want a move like champion up 4 that would then threaten the foot soldier. Although perhaps he wouldn't want to do that, because then I could take his scout and play chastise or vigilance. No, then he would hit me with this halberd. Yeah, so I want to keep this foot soldier just out of range of this champion. So I move the foot soldier up, and he opts to move a scout over, and it is in range of my foot soldier. So I actually want to get some space with my foot soldier, and I'm looking to charge and battlecry one of these halberds to get my material back for what his scout did. So his scout's still right here. I guess it's going to attack one of my champions, or could even take a scout. I think taking these scouts would be better, in my opinion, because then I have to waste a turn to attack the scout. Although he still has good reasons for hitting either one of these champions and lowering it to 400 HP. But here I moved the foot soldier forward a little bit, and I took the scout. So he's still got his scout over here. I've just taken the scout. I've gained a little bit of space. I'm just barely in charge range of the back row. No, I'm not. I'm in charge range of this halberd and this champion. So I'm looking to charge a battle cry this halberd, and he ends up giving me the free turn by taking the champion, or attacking the champion, lowering it to 400 HP. So now all of my commands are on cooldown, and I can actually launch an attack with this foot soldier. So I use charge and battle cry. I get my halberd back, but again, I'm down on cooldowns. He's only got 2 turns to cooldown. I have I'm gonna have 4 on my next turn. But I'm up in material. He's going to end up getting this foot soldier back, and after that, I'm going to get either some damage off from the foot soldier, or White's going to have to use a command. But after that, it's going to be 2 scouts, a halberd, and a foot soldier, and 2 champions versus 2 champions, 2 scouts, and a halberd. So I'll still be up a foot soldier in material, interestingly enough. So charge battle cry, he can't attack it with anything. He doesn't even have battle cry to kill it if he wants to with one of the champions. So ultimately he has to just leave it there and use chastise on it. Now, his stoicism is actually on cooldown right now. He's got to play another move before he can use it. So what I do in this situation is I'm just staying in the corner, really, and I used Vigilance on my foot soldier. So now I'm either going to attack one of these scouts to try and get more material advantage, or I could potentially sacrifice the foot soldier for a champion. But instead, Rage opts to attack the foot soldier and just take the damage on this front champion. Now, if I had the option, I think I would have taken one of the scouts, because scouts are very dangerous. They can charge and battle cry over long ranges. And in addition, he would have to waste another turn to kill my foot soldier. And even after that, he's got to make sure that both champions are in range of both scouts. So he can't do something like push this champion up 4 here, because then it's out of range of this scout, and I can capture and chastise this champion. But continuing, I just try and play my foot soldier up a little bit. He's still in range of this champion. And I'm mostly just waiting for Rage to do something. And if he doesn't do something in enough time, I've always got Charge and Battle Cry that are about to get cooled down. Now here's where something weird happens. He disconnects, and so he ends up wasting a move. So I just kind of sit here, and then I push this scout up. So that's 3 moves that nothing has happened. And now he uses Charge, Battle Cry, and Stoicism again to capture the halberd. Although he couldn't have weakened this champion because it was cornered, so taking this halberd was really the only option. So here I'm just playing my champion up because he doesn't have Charge or Battle Cry now, and I use Chastise on the scout. And let me go back. So he moves his champion right here. He puts it in the corner because he knows I'm going to try to rush him. I would have moved this champion in the corner. Just because it's higher HP, and you want this champion to be up front, I guess. I guess it doesn't really matter. He's going to move one and then just move the other the next turn. Let's see, am I in 4 and 4? Yeah, so it does. I could reach both of them in the same number of turns, but anyways, he corners this champion, and I recapture the scout and kind of rebuild a wall for this champion because I'm not expecting this champion to come back. So White's only got 75 command points in this position, so he's actually running kind of low. He moves his halberd up to defend his champions. So I can't get in charge range of his champions anymore, because if I do, then I'm in range of this halberd, and this halberd could hit me. And what makes this even worse is that this champion is 400 HP, so the halberd could potentially get a kill with Battle Cry. So I have to move up with this champion, and he corners his champion, of course, and I take the scout, and I know he doesn't quite have Battle Cry just yet. Actually, so here's where I messed up. I probably messed up just trying to rush him with this champion, but he didn't have Battle Cry on this turn, so I didn't have to do anything to the halberd. However, let me go back. Let's say I did take this scout and I just ended my turn. Well, now White has the option to hit my champion, and then use chastise. Alright, so now I've got a 200 HP champion who's potentially about to die to this halberd. And I have all of these command points that I haven't been using because I've just not found a good place for them. Now, one tactic I could try is chastise the halberd and then use Vigilance. However, on white's next turn, on white's next turn, I think he can say, ooh, did that not? I think I hit it twice. That's what happened. On white's next turn, I think he would be safe in. He could just honestly let me be. Yeah, he could sit there and not do anything. Let me go back a few moves. This takes a bit of time to process each move. But I believe that could have been a better way to go about this game, because he's just so low on command points. But perhaps he would risk this champion becoming 100 HP in exchange for my champion, because he didn't have chastise, and he didn't have both charge and BC. Or stoic, he could only play charge with 125 command points. So I don't know, that could have been a winning line potentially if I had played correctly. But instead what I did, I totally miscalculated, and I played chastise on that halberd because I thought he had at least one of these cooled down. Well, I guess all of them cooled down because he used them on the same turn. But I thought he would not charge me, because then my other champion would definitely rush him. But most of all, I had to not get hit by battle cry from the halberd, which I didn't know he couldn't use. So that was my mistake, was just being lazy in my calculations for this game. So he can respond with just chastising my champion and moving up, because now I can't defend myself with this Vigilance command. When I try, I use Vigilance, move this scout up. The scout's not going to do anything. He can just... Actually, he can just take with the halberd and a battle cry. And that also saves his halberd from being battle cried by this scout. So now I move my foot soldier up, because the halberd can't kill the foot soldier, and if it takes the scout, then the foot soldier's going to use battle cry on the halberd. So he plays his halberd back, and we can see how this is going to unwind. So I take his halberd with my scout, and I use chast on his front champion, even though I know both champions are attacking, because a champion on this third row here has just enough movement to get to the back row. And how many turns is that? 3 or 4? 1, 2, 3. in 4 turns or 3 with charge. So I didn't want him to gain that space right away. So he has to push his back champion, which delays him by a move. And I'm just going to move my foot soldier back. He plays a champ up. I'm going to make half a wall. This will be decent if he wants to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If he wants to move his champion right here for some reason. Actually, that could have been something with this champion. He would have moved 4 and then 4, and this would have been perfect. But I'm sure he would have seen that coming and just not played right here. Because if you're on this row, when you try to attack my champion, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can't get to either of these squares. However, my champion can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then attack you when you're right here. Because he can move around his own units. So he plays charge and what was it? No, just charge. Just charge? Oh, charge, and he chastised my champion. And now I can't do anything. Vigilance isn't going to save me from a battle cry. But yeah, you can see how the game ends. He's just gonna battle cry, and he also uses stoicism just to negate that bit of damage. And now this scout couldn't win, even if he tried. Any attack with any number of commands is going to result in the scout's death. So this is the point where I resign. So, analysis for this game. I had a material advantage for a good portion of the game. Right from the get-go, I have a foot soldier for a scout, and let's see, many moves in, I end up with an extra foot soldier. So a whole extra foot soldier, but I'm a bit down on commands, so I have to play a little bit defensively, at least for a while. And White's kind of down on command points. And in this particular position, White's going to be even more down on command points. If you remember when he charged battle cries and uses stoic on the halberd. I believe I could have won if I had calculated his commands correctly. Even this just looks like a fairly decent position for me, even if he didn't use, all of his commands to take this halberd. I have an extra foot soldier, and there are some units on the board that I can trade it for still. It's not a foot soldier and a champion versus one champion, because that would be losing. So the foot soldier can potentially be traded for things. And a good tactic for the foot soldier I found, at least in this game, is to charge something like a halberd with battle cry, and then you end your turn, and your opponent will use chastise on your foot soldier, and then you can use vigilance. So halberds can't kill the foot soldier without a command like battle cry, and the champions will take damage unless they use stoicism. So either way, you're going to get something good. You're either going to trade off this foot soldier and make them use a command like stoicism, or potentially they don't have stoicism and then they have to have damage on their champion because it was on cooldown. I did not, weirdly enough, get to use Vigilance on the halberd or any of the scouts in this game. And I figured that those would be the units that I used Vigilance the most on. But if you keep your scouts in range of your halberd, then scout takes scout and Vigilance isn't a problem. And my halberds in this game were just really defensive. They didn't get to use Vigilance at all. They didn't go on any expeditions. Maybe I could have pushed one of the halberds up instead of the foot soldier. Although if I pushed the halberd up instead of a foot soldier, it would be something like halberd takes a halberd, uses Vigilance, and then opponent would chastise, and then he wouldn't get anywhere. Because the halberd can't really defend with battle cry. So it's sort of got to be the foot soldier that you use Vigilance on. Foot soldiers and champions, which actually sort of defeated the purpose of this set. I wanted to use Vigilance almost as much as I could, but I just had so many leftover command points towards the end. You saw I had about 300. I really wanted to spam these commands to try and get my opponent to just not have any commands to use, but my opponent ended up not having commands to use because he used Charged Battle Cry and Stoicism on both of my halberds as soon as he could. So I don't know if that was the correct way to go about that. Personally, I would have waited until I had some more command points secured before taking the second halberd. Or I would have even just not used Stoicism. I would have just let my opponent take the battle-cried scout. Because then at least you've got Stoicism to defend yourself. And you've also got a bit of extra command points to use chastise in case you need to. But that wraps up my analysis for this game. I have 2 other games using this same set against anti-rush that I'm going to be analyzing later. But for now, you can enjoy this game. I will leave the file with all of this notation in the description, so you can download it there and open it with file open. You can play through the moves yourself and look at some variations you think might be winning. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And come back for more.